Okay, let's take a look at, real quick, what I do to edit Audacity files. So right here I've got the recordings from D&D session. Let's say that we've already got the audio files. They're in the form of MP4s, but of course any other file that Audacity will read will work just fine. So I'm going to open up Audacity. There we go, let's get it on the right screen. What we need to do is simply import the files of interest. I've already edited up till 4, so here's my audio from 4, and here's the player's audio from 4. I'm just going to import those, and we'll go ahead and import these other ones. So it's got to do this whole import thing, which is actually duplicating the file into the Audacity project, so that you're not actually editing the file itself, you're editing a kind of copy. There we go. So that's taking up everything. Let's full screen this bad boy. Alright, so that's what we got. First things first, we're going to, you see how all of them are recorded in stereo, even though we don't actually have any stereo data? Come on, it's behaving badly. Get used to this in Audacity. If you like smooth sailing, you're out of luck. But it's free. So what we're going to do is select all the tracks using the Control or Shift button. Oh, come on. Shift click. Alright, now all of them are selected. You can see because the background is white. First, we're going to distill all of these down to mono, because we only have mono data anyway, right? It's taking up twice as much memory and twice as much storage space in this form. So, mix stereo down to mono. It's pretty easy. And we're not actually losing anything, because all of this was recorded from not stereo. Boink. Okay, that's done. And what we're going to do is use the grabby. Alright, this is the selector, which is basically good for that, right there. You see that? We can delete audio.
And
when we start playing, we play from wherever you click. There's a multi-tool, and it kind of tries to guess what you want it to do. Normally it guesses that you want to select. That's annoying. But for this exact operation we're going to do now, we're going to put everything into exactly 2 tracks. We're going to take the slidey. Here's the slidey. And we're going to slidey the GM data from recording 5 up here. Boink. See the yellow line? It's snapping. And we're going to slidey the player audio. Now watch this. It will actually bonk into the audio in the track until you get it all the way past. So don't freak out. There you go. Alright, yellow line means we justified them. So now everything's in 2 tracks. We don't actually need these. Life becomes simpler if we don't have them. Embiggen, so that we can see what the heck is going on. Now, my audio is way bigger than his, and that might be because of zoominess. So we're going to collapse it and re-expand it. What we've got going on here, you see how the peaks are high, and we've also got this baseline noise. It's kind of hard to see. There's baseline noise. That's my air conditioning unit. You might hear it now. We need to clean up this audio a little bit. Mine sucks more than Antonio's because his was actually processed a bit by Discord. Cool feature. I wish you could do that on your own audio real time. Anyway, we can clean this up. So what we're going to do is first use the effect called compress. Now this isn't compressing the data. It is compressing the volume readings. So it starts with this default thing. I don't know, let's just go. I don't know enough about it to actually change it, so I take their defaults as a pretty good idea. There we go, look at that. That's a little bit nicer. So that reduces the peaking just a little bit. Let's zoom in on one instance. Like right here, I probably say something that I'm really excited about, and that's pretty much the only reason why it peaks out. Here we go. But you eventually reach around, it's complicated, and you're really clumsy with it, because that doesn't actually sound completely offensive, so I'd say that's good enough. And now there's the noise. So you hear this?
Can I feel what it is?
That's all me. That's all my audio. We don't like that, so what I'm going to do is select a representative sample. This is the longest one I can see. Oh, here's one. Let's go grab it. There we go. So first you select a portion of noise, background noise with nothing interrupting it. You go to Effect, Noise Reduction. Now we've got a selected little bit. Stage 1 in noise reduction is to select a little bit and get noise profile. So that's why I selected that before even clicking. So Get noise profile. Alright, now we need to select the track that we want to reduce noise on based on this profile. Effect. Noise reduction is just the workflow, guys, so we're going to go OK. And now it's going to think for 30-ish seconds. So check it out. I'm going to play my audio. The noise is much... Alright, well, you start digging. The noise is much less severe. Now, let's do something about the volume of the two tracks, comparative volume. Here we go.
Okay. So can I dig down to where the rod is coming from?
Alright, well, you start digging, and the... Yeah, I'm with your maybe wing claw 10 decibels louder than him, so I'm just going to crank myself down just a few. And we're going to see if that blue bar stays a little bit more still when we go between the two voices.
Okay. So can I dig down to where the rod is coming from?
Alright, well, you start digging, and the... with that's your little... a little bit too far. Maybe one up.
Down to where the rod is coming from?
Around. Alright, well, you start digging, and the...
Down to where
that's
the
pretty good.
rod
That's pretty
is coming
good.
from?
Alright, that's close enough. It doesn't actually matter because you hear on a logarithmic scale. Now I'm going to do something purely aesthetic, which I like to do. Just to pan myself slightly to the right and the other player slightly to the left. This actually, it separates the sound in your head channels, and it helps you distinguish between who's talking a little bit easier, I think. Like, in theory. But also it's not so panned that if you're only listening with one earbud, somebody is almost impossible to hear. Yeah, that's cool. And now there's one more process that I like to apply. Let's find a good place where we hope it will have a result. First, I'm going to check the overall length of this whole shebang. It's coming in just a little under 55 minutes. Look right here. I'm not talking, and my buddy Antonio isn't talking. 52, 50, something. Watch
adventures.
This. One.
I don't know what those adventures are.
1, 2. 1, 2.
So it's hard to connect the dots because there's so few.
Okay, not only does he just slam his hand on the desk right here, or maybe his head. Listen to that. I don't like that. So if you want to cut something out that doesn't make any sense to be in there, you can take your little selectoid, or if you've got the multi-tool allows you to selectively change the volume envelope. But when you have the little bar symbol, I'm pointing at my screen because I'm stupid, you can click and drag. And this will allow you to select a little area, listen to it repeatedly, and delete it. If you only delete the offending portion of one of the tracks will become desynchronized. So all you do to keep them synchronized forever is to select a little bit of both tracks. See that? And I'm going to just hit the delete key. That's gone. All right. And it even heals the cut. The cut's gone now. But now what we're left with is this big longish silence right here, which is silly.
So it's hard to connect the dots.
And that makes for kind of a boring podcast. So what I'm going to do is a very kind of gentle noise removal. And this is called truncate silence. Oh, yeah, we have to select the audio. So we're going to select both tracks. And what this is going to do is compare the audio on both tracks to a threshold that we're going to set. Okay, here we go. And I set the threshold pretty low so that if you're speaking quietly, it won't be cut out. So neg 40 decibels is pretty quiet. Just for reference. Here, let's listen for a little while.
I don't know what those adventures are.
Yeah, you see,
so it's hard
neg
to
40
connect
is
the
about
dots
here.
Because they're so few and far between.
And it's got a threshold level. It has to be quieter than neg 45 decibels. And it also has to, the silence has to be longer than a quarter second. Now that's pretty short. But what it's doing is instead of just cutting out all silence longer than 0.25 seconds, it's just compressing the excess silence a little bit. So your timing will still be a little bit longer if there's a longer pause, or shorter if there's a shorter pause. If we truncate tracks independently, this whole silence when I'm waiting for Antonio while he's talking will be cut out, and the tracks will get desynchronized really fast. So since we're not truncating tracks independently, it will only remove if both tracks are quiet for the amount of time specified. So we're going to go OK. And this is going to be really cautious about what it actually removes. I find that it won't remove an awful lot, but it will cut down the worst offenders, you know? If there's 5 seconds where you're both kind of waiting for one another to respond to something, or, I don't know, if you both get up from your computers, this will automatically cut that out. And the reason we're doing it now is because this way you can listen through the whole thing. You're going to want to do a proof listen. And you don't have to listen to that excess silence. So our audio has gone down to under 50 minutes. We're going to find out in the proof listening. You see I accidentally scaled the audio. We got to bonk bonk there. That sets it back. Hopefully it hasn't cut out any actual speaking. Yeah, so we're back here again.
Okay.
And this time, that's actually how it starts. I had taken a break recording to break the video file. So now what we do, now that we've 1 done compressor on the noisy audio, the bad audio, 2 done noise reduction on the bad audio, my audio, and 3 truncated silences, which will save us a little bit of time to the re-listen. We basically go through the entire track and listen to it and see if there's anything that's really irritating to hear. And this takes the full length of time that it takes to listen to an audio file, plus the amount of time it takes to do any edits that you choose to do. So it takes a commitment of time. One trick you can do is you can have an alternate playback mode, which you set up here. I like to go to like 1.7-ish or 1.6 times speed. And when you listen, not only does it speed up the listening experience, but you also sound adorably like chipmunks, which reduces the wear on your ears of your own voice.
There's something heavy holding your neck down, and you don't have a whole lot of leverage to pick it up because it's right up near your head.
It's pretty clear what's being said, but you sound like cute little chinchillas. Kind of makes it easier to listen to yourself for a really long time because it sounds less like yourself. But that's just me talking. So that's basically it. You do that couple of little processes, and then you just listen through it and hear if there's something really stupid or something that doesn't belong in the podcast. In this case, we're doing D&D. We're doing some role-playing games, and so anything that's redundant or anything that's just kind of personal information, anything that's off topic. I like to if it goes on for more than maybe 10 seconds, I remove that. And that's why you do that second listen. You don't have to go in and find every little error. But for instance, if one of you starts typing and your keyboard is extremely loud and you're typing for like 5 or 10 seconds at a stretch, in that case you're gonna want to cut that little bit out. Check it out right here. It didn't detect this as a silence, but if we listen to it...
Let's see what it has to do with the stone shards.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, anything longer than 5 seconds is kind of in the range where that would actually annoy a listener. So we're going to do some of this. There we go. Now it's a little bit more reasonable. Yeah, this is a puzzle. All right, here's another one. As much time as you need to think. 2, 3, 4... 5. Yeah, that kind of thing. I'm not going to do it all here on camera. You can look for anywhere where the audio looks weird. Like right there, that's probably me saying, uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hey. That is probably, Okay. It's at the middle of the sounds. Let's get rid of that while we're looking at it. Anyway, if you hear anything that really irritates you while listening through it, just try and go back in there and cut that out. And the other thing to look for is when you're editing multiple files together, normally there will be some sort of, off-topic or real-world discussion relating to the break. And
right.
Basically, we're going to go in here and find when the actual adventure suddenly takes a pause. How about you think about... And mere housekeeping takes over, so...
I can't think of anything else to do during the day, because the talk is the next day.
Oop, right here is a good example of something else. Listen to this. I'm fiddling with something on my desk. Now that's goofy, but we don't want to cut the tracks, because he's talking here. So what we do is we take our multi-tool, see multi-tool. I'm going to set a set point on the volume right here. And another one on the other side. You got to do this, okay? Or your volume will be changed for the rest of the recording. And what you do is you grab the volume in between and blink, snap it shut. So now that is silenced. And check it out when we're listening to Antonio talk.
The talk is the next day.
No, it silenced the intruding noise. And now we can cut down this here silence. So, for instance, how about you think about all of the things that have been happening to you? Alright, let's do another trick. We're going to add a new track, label track. And what's going to happen is right here, you see this? I'm going to add a label. You just click in the thingy and then type. We're going to consider breaking the recording right here. And you can expand the labeled section a little bit. Though it gets a little bit tough to grab stuff. There we are. There we go. Okay, so we might break it right there. And so what we're going to do... are you thinking about what is actually...
This story is just so vague. I'm not...
by the way, the window that you broke was not your window. So let's say that we want to cut it until we get right here. Check it out. We're gonna go right back to the mark we made, the starting mark there, and cut them. And that's basically it. Let's move that right to where the audio cuts to 0. Delete. About all of the things.
About all of the things that have been happening to you.
Chipmunks.
By the way, the window that you broke was not your window, remember?
Right, so that
the window
would
on that apartment building.
Right, so I'm gonna assume that somehow I sleep like me.
There we go. So we've cut out a little bit of us just kind
I
of...
just want to call him Shite because I can never remember his name is Henry.
It's not hard, it's funny.
Right, yeah, so...
There we go. So I've cut out a long portion of us just kind of talking to one another about the meta-narrative, what's going on between us. Like, I was kind of doing a poor job with Antonio. I left out a bunch of clues I should have. Anyway, that's the basics of what you got to do when editing a podcast. The most important and time-consuming section is listening through the entire thing again. And whenever anything strikes you as weird, go in there, take a look at it. You might be able to just completely clip it out like it was never there before. Or you might be able to reduce redundancies, this kind of thing. It is best to start at the very beginning and go from there. Because if you do an edit at the, anywhere in the recording and then do a subsequent edit in the middle, it will move everything up. And any notes you've made in regard to the playtime, so if you make a mark that you want to look at something at maybe minute 15, right in here, that will shift up by the amount you cut out. So yeah, you want to do everything in order so that your timestamps stay the same on each of your recordings. For instance, if you make one of these marks like this, well, you can actually clip a little bit of all 3 tracks, and then everything will stay synchronized. Don't do that. Just keep in mind, going from front to back is the most solid way. That's all I got for you. Enjoy. I guess as much as you can. Bye-bye.